Welcome back to the Wives Club podcast. Today is a fun one. We have Sadie and Madison's birth stories. So I did my birth story right when Powell was born, and you guys seemed to really like it. That's one of our most listened to episodes. And so in honor of Sadie and Madison's 1 year coming up, they both gave birth about a year ago, we thought we would reminisce, go down memory lane, and talk about their stories. And we also have Sid's coming up very soon. Everyone give good vibes for Sid. She's due, when this goes
8
up,
weeks.
and yeah.
Ooh, wow. Wait, is it like February 4th or something?
That's February 3rd is my due date.
You can do it. So we're going to have hers up probably sometime in March or April. So look forward to that. But for now, let's kick it off to good old Sadie, whose baby turns 1 in 2 days.
2 days. Crazy
So
how
crazy.
fast time goes by.
It's so crazy.
I don't know. I'm still shocked that in 2 days he'll be a year. Crazy. Okay. So I guess I'll just
remember what I was doing the day he was
I know.
born.
I'm like thinking back.
Really?
I was at High Fitness. Yes.
Oh yeah. I remember being like, what the heck? I want to give birth.
I remember like so vividly like walking out of High Fitness and you had like sent us a Marco that he was born.
Oh my gosh.
It feels like yesterday.
Oh, I remember she wouldn't like talk to us because you were just like obviously busy. But we were like, can we have an update? Like, are we gonna know soon?
I
all,
like
dying.
dying.
I like didn't I like wasn't on my phone. I was like
no, like for like 2 days.
Yeah, I was like I don't know why, but I just
But no, if that's what you gotta do when you're a new mom.
Yeah. So the night before, so I got induced at 39 weeks, and my doctor was really cool about that. I know some doctors won't let you get induced before like your full term, right? Some doctors they don't like induce you. But my doctor was like, the baby's like basically fully developed at 39 weeks, and she wouldn't do like anything before that unless there was like complications or anything. Which worked out perfectly because it was like right before Christmas, and I could plan to have my mom there, and because she lives in Vegas and I'm obviously up in Utah, so it was super nice to kind of like plan that. And then I could pick his birthday, which is kind of fun.
So scary too. I set up an induction date for Powell, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm picking his birthday. He didn't make it to the induction date, but that's such a scary feeling, being like, this is the date that he's going to write the rest of his life.
But I feel like December 10th is like a cute date.
It is. I love it.
I want you to talk about being in like just like electively induced, because my doctor's the same way. Like she was like, if you want to go at 39 weeks, you can. And I was like, is that bad of me to like be like, I'm done? Like,
I don't
know. I was just like, I just feel like there's so many people that are like, you should go natural. Like, it's just way worse when you're induced. So I want you to like talk about being induced at 39 weeks because I want to know, because I'm like, it kind of sounds nice, especially to like you were saying, like,
so
obviously we live really far away. And so it'd be really nice to be like, okay, mom, come this day. Like, anyway, so talk about that.
Okay, so I was induced the night before, so I went in on the 9th at like midnight, and then on the 10th so I was only dilated to like a 1.5, and so they had to obviously like dilate me, and so they gave me like this pill. It wasn't Pitocin.
It's called Cytotec. I looked it up.
Yes, Cytotec
for this.
And they could either do it like vaginally or like in your mouth. And I got the pill in my mouth, and it was every 3 hours. Yeah. And so it was every 3 hours, I'm pretty sure, that they give it to you. And I think after and they give it like 3 or 4 times. And so I think at like 7 in the morning, I was like dilated to 2 still. And so they're like, okay, it's time to do these balloons, which I looked it up And it's called the Folly Bulb induction. And let me just read this to you guys.
Oh no.
I screenshotted the the caption, I guess, of what it is. This is what it says. A Folly Bulb induction is a procedure where your doctor inserts a catheter into your cervix. One side of the catheter is deflated. Once inside your womb, your doctor inflates the balloon with the saline solution. This puts pressure on your cervix and encourages dilation, which that was like the most painful part of my pregnancy, giving birth, because she seriously like goes all the way up. Like her hand, I swear, I mean, my doctor was so tiny anyways. I felt like her whole arm was inside of me.
It's like a different dimension.
I felt like I was gonna throw up and like pass out, and it hurt so bad. Oh my gosh. Because it's like filling like fluids up, and like once she clamped it onto like the cervix, oh my gosh, it was the worst.
And you didn't have
pain.
your epidural at that point?
No, which a lot of times
regrets.
you can ask them for the epidural before, but they don't tell you that. Like you have to ask. It's like if you're ever getting induced and they're going to tell you to do the Folly Bulb induction, you request for your epidural if you're getting one, because it hurts so bad. So after that happened, I felt like I was going to throw up, and I like couldn't eat anything because I was in so much pain, which I probably should have just like downed something, because the next part was I got my epidural after that, but then you can't eat solid foods.
Moral of the story is force feed yourself.
Yes, seriously, because the hunger pains are like, they hurt so bad. And I went like, how long was it? I feel like it was like 14 or 15 hours without eating. And it just like, I was miserable.
Especially when you're pregnant, like you're so hungry.
And you're working really hard to get a baby out, like that. It's
I know they're like, we can give you some broth and some icy, and I'm like, I don't want that. Like, it doesn't help.
Do you want ice
it did
chips?
not cut. I remember eating like Slurpee after Slurpee, just being like, I'm gonna die if I have to see another Slurpee.
And it doesn't even help you. You're like still starving.
Yeah.
So once they did that, I got the epidural, and then I think they started me on Pitocin after, and then like broke my water, and they were just like waiting for me to like dilate. And so they like put, I don't know if you guys got this, it's kind of like a medicine ball, but it's like in a peanut shape.
Yeah, I had that.
Yeah, I hated that thing.
I guess it like helps open up your cervix or whatnot. Then it was kind of like a waiting game like the whole time for like the rest, like 10 hours, I guess, which sucked. So then they put the balloons in, and like every few hours they would like come in and check. And my one doctor that I had like before, because you know how they do 6-hour shifts.
Mm-hmm.
So I loved my first doctor, and then the second doctor that I had, she was a little weird, and I just kind of felt like she didn't really know what she was doing.
That's always good.
Because
wait, your doctor or your nurse?
My nurse.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the nurses. My bad.
Yeah, the nurses are either like amazing or they're like, I'm not a big fan.
My first nurse was really good. I really liked her, and she came back at the end when I was pushing, which was really fun to have. But the second one that was like checking everything, I got to the point where I was like, oh, I feel like I'm like to a 10. Like I feel like I'm gonna poop. Like it was that like pressure. And she was like, well, you're not there yet. Like you're at like a 9. And I was like, no, like I feel like I need a push. And she's like, well, I'll come back in like a few minutes and check you again. I like just remember thinking, I like turned over to Lucas and I was like, Lucas, I need to push. You need to tell her to come back in here because I am going to push this baby out. It like felt so weird. It really does feel like you're going to poop. And so then she came back in and she checked me again, and then she like went higher or something, and then a gush of blood comes out, and she's like, oh, okay, yep, you're a 10. And then she like takes the like balloons out, and I'm like,
So they
okay,
leave the
told you
balloons
that.
in?
Uh-huh.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, they left it in like the whole time.
Does it
and
keep
then once
expanding?
So they
Okay.
come in,
Oh.
and I think they inject like more fluid each time, I'm pretty
For
sure.
it to get bigger. Okay.
So now after that I pushed, but I will say this. The epidural I did not like. Like I liked how it didn't take, like it took the pain away completely. I did not have any contractions. I did not feel anything, which I know some people when they get epidurals, they feel like some sort of contraction. I didn't feel a thing. And I didn't like that because I, like my leg would fall off the table and I like couldn't put it back up. And I'm like,
No, you can't.
Like I hated the feeling of not being in control. And I like kind of knew with the epidural because it like obviously numbs you. But I really did not like that.
Do you think you could have asked, I don't know if this is possible, like
Well,
ask for a lower dosage?
Yes. So I think the guy, when he gave it to me, since I was in so much pain, he like gave me like too much. And so I think next time I'll like ask them if I end up
Or isn't there
saying
such
that I
thing
want
as
to do
like
another epidural.
isn't there such thing as like a walking epidural or something like that? Where like you can still walk? Is that a thing?
I don't know.
I'm gonna
If there is, that would be nice because
I
I hated
know.
that. Because when I was pushing, I was like, I pushed for over an hour. Not as long as McCall, but I felt like that was pretty long for over an hour.
Any amount of time is a long time when you're doing that.
But like the whole time I was like, I don't know if I'm doing this. Like I can't feel anything. Because I just couldn't, like I didn't know if I was pushing or not, which I just hated that.
I said that
so
after
weird.
every single push. I said, am I doing anything? Because you're so numb. I hated it too.
Yes. And so I will say with the induction, I really liked doing 39 weeks because the baby's smaller. And so I didn't tear at all. I got one stitch internally, but that was it. And so that was really nice because Miles had the tiniest round
He
head
did have the tiniest
you'd ever
head.
seen.
It was tiny. What were his
so
stats?
small.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how big was he?
He was 7 pounds even and 21 inches.
That's like, yeah,
Yeah,
pretty small.
Yeah, that's good.
he was so tiny.
We'll have to
And
show
so
a picture
I
of him
liked
on
that.
the Insta story today.
When he was tiny firstborn.
In his
he was
little like
so
winter
cute.
gear. It was so cute.
It's so cute. I will say too, my doctor, I really liked, she was stretching my perineum the whole time. And I felt like that made me not tear because she was super, like, she wasn't rushing at all. I feel like some doctors, from what like stories I've heard, they're like, okay, gotta get this baby out. Let's go. And they don't really take their time to like, make sure that you're doing good and like make sure that the baby, well, obviously they'll make sure the baby's doing good, but for you. And that was like so nice for me because I was like, I didn't tear at all. And I don't know, I feel like that was a bonus because I felt like my
makes
healing,
a big difference for sure.
The healing process I felt like it was amazing.
Yeah, you were like up
because my
bopping
doctor
around to Vegas like 2 weeks later.
2 weeks
Yeah,
later we went
I
down to
remember that.
Vegas.
Yeah, I've heard of people that can't even like sit in a car. I had like one tear, I think. I can't remember. But yeah, totally. I feel like the doctor makes or break your recovery.
Seriously.
What time was he born?
He was born at 7:12
At night
p.m.
or in the morning?
p.m.
At
night.
Yeah. That's right.
Oh,
I
yeah.
remember that. Oh, little Miles. And he's 1. I cannot believe it.
I know.
He's so cute.
He's
one
like
thing?
starting to develop his personality, and it's the
yeah.
cutest thing.
Oh, so much, yeah.
And he's like the perfect mixture of Sadie and Lucas.
I know he
He's
is.
like,
He's the cutest.
I feel like he
His
is.
little
He's so
curly
cute.
hair.
His blonde fro. I cannot.
You know it.
Oh my gosh.
His eyes.
Yeah, his eyes
eyes
are
are yours.
amazing.
The picture you posted the other day where his little gap in his teeth.
Oh, I know. I'm obsessed
can't.
with his gap.
It's so juicy.
I just love everything about him.
Okay, one question is, so for someone listening out there, like what's a bit of advice you would give them if they're about to have a baby or if they're thinking of having a baby?
Like
what?
me.
Yeah, like Sid. What's a bit of advice like through the whole journey, pregnancy, birth, recovery? What is something that you didn't know and you wish you would have, or just a bit of advice?
Okay, so probably for pregnancy, my advice is just like listen to your body, because you'll hear a lot of people say, oh, you should do this or you should do that. Like, make sure you work out and eat healthy so that you don't gain so much weight, or like, but for me, it was like, I'm going to listen to my body, and if I want to work out, I'm going to work out. If I'm going to want to eat like French fries from Chick-fil-A, I'm going to eat French fries from Chick-fil-A. And I just felt like
I currently live my life.
Right? And I feel like that's how you should, even if you're pregnant. Like, I feel like your first
Live
pregnancy,
the same life, yeah.
you're always like on edge with everything, because you're
All
like,
the
oh my gosh, am I
rules.
going to do this right? You know? But I wouldn't stress too much about it, because in the end, like I think of it now and I'm like, okay, I'm ready to have another baby, because I felt like I was like so stressed with Miles, and like, I don't know. I'm like, I feel like I've kind of let my guard down, where I'm like, I don't need to be as stressed necessarily with everything. And then like birth, like when you go into labor, ask the hospital for anything. Like if you don't like the nurse that they
Give you anything.
yeah, if you're like, tell them that you want a different nurse if you don't like them, and it's totally fine. Like they're gonna be with you for freaking 6 hours. And then like with the what did I get? The Foley bulb. Like I said, I should have got the epidural before, but I didn't know that. Like, so ask as many questions, even if you think they're dumb questions, like ask them, because they're there to help you no matter what.
Because
Like,
they would
want
have
you to
given
have
it
like
to
a
you
good
before
experience
if you would have known.
Yeah. So
I feel like the hard part with nurses is they know everything, and so it's just they assume you know everything. Until you get a question asked, they're just like, oh my gosh, yes, you can have the epidural. But I feel like they just assume that you know it's always available and you'll tell them. I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like that in every profession. Like when I would be working and I just assumed people would know things, and I'm like, oh wait, no, I can't just assume.
They don't. Or like after you give birth, like ask for a bunch of like pads and like those underwear that they give you, the diaper underwear things.
A heating pad. They give you a heating pad if you ask.
Yeah, seriously, like ask her anything.
Didn't know
Ask
that.
for formula, ask her for, they'll give you it all. Seriously,
A binky.
Take everything home.
Last question. Did you have your mom there, Sadie? Or who
Yes.
did you have in the room?
It was Lucas and my mom who were in the room. Okay. I really liked my experience at Utah Valley, because when I was pushing, they were like, wanted Lucas to be as involved as he wanted to be. It's like he was there, he was helping me push, like he cut the cord, and I don't know, it was just like such a fun experience to have him there with me. So I would recommend that too. Have your husband as involved as he wants to be.
Nate thought he was gonna throw up, so he wasn't very involved.
Well, you know Lucas, he's like, he loves that
so
stuff.
involved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, Nate was involved. I can't say that on the pod. He was very involved. He was holding one of the legs. All right, Madison, let's hear it. Little Brooksy.
So like basically a month later, I gave birth. My induction date was my due date. So he just said like, your due date is the 5th of January. Like, let's just come in that night and I'll get you all set up for the next morning. And so I had a certain doctor that I liked, because mine was like a group of gynecologists, and I rotated them, but I like near the end of my pregnancy, I kind of like stopped and just saw this one that I was like, this is the one I want to be like familiar with him. And so he was like, yeah, I'll set up your induction and I'll be your doctor or whatever. And so on the 5th, it was like 7 or something, and I was told if I didn't hear anything, like to call them. And so I called them, and then anyway, we got in to the hospital around like 10 o'clock. I feel like that's like usually when people go in. I feel like really late at night. And so we got in there, and then get checked in and everything. And I had the same thing. I had Cytotec, but I didn't eat it. They put it up my vagina, and which is fine by me. Like, I don't want to eat it. Like, I think it's weird that you can like either have it in there or like swallow it.
It just really like weird. Dissolves in your mouth. I was gonna say mine, they didn't like I didn't eat it. They just had it. I let it dissolve in my cheek or under my tongue. I can't remember.
Oh, but still
I didn't. I think it was like a different one though.
I know, but it's still weird that like they can take it either ways. But anyway, so
I know.
The funny thing about mine, I was gonna say, is I asked so many questions. I'm just, if you guys know me, if anyone knows me, I am like the queen of questions and trying to figure things out. And so like I had the best nurse who just was like, I'm here to answer every question. And so she like they have to put it right inside your cervix. And so she like goes up and she's like, oh, and she like goes behind and she's like, your cervix is up behind his head. And I'm like, what does that even mean? Like, I just didn't even understand. I was like, it's not just like a straight shot to your cervix from your vagina. Like, I was really confused. And she's like, no, it's like, I have to bring it forward. So I think that's why I couldn't go on my own. I feel like I would have given birth on my own if my cervix would have been like right where my vagina, like canal or whatever it is. Because she just, every time she'd put the Cytotec in, she'd like put her hand back and she'd pull the cervix forward, if that makes any sense. It was so weird. She like drew a diagram for me. She's like, this is what's happening. Anyway, so she did that every 3 hours, but I got one when I first got there, and then I got one around like 3 a.m. and then around like 5:30, I was getting up because like, as you probably guessed, like you're up a lot in the night because you're not like comfortable and you're just listening to the baby's heartbeat, which is really nice. I loved that. Like you just hear his heartbeat because you're all hooked up to machines. But like I had to pee all the time. So I would like unhook myself and put the like cord over my head and like walk to the bathroom. And one of these times it was like 5 a.m. and I get up to go to the bathroom and my water broke. And I was like, Dallin, I think my water broke. And so we call the nurse in, and she's like, I don't think your water broke, but we can check because I can't give you more Cytotec because it'll just slide right out. Like it won't do anything. And so she goes in there and all of a sudden goes, what? And like more of the water just gushes out. And she's like, oh, yeah, it broke. Like, so we won't give you any more Cytotec and you're already like out of 4 or something. Because I came in at like a 1.5 too. And so this is like 5:30 in the morning. And she's like, I'll get the doctor and we'll see if you need to start your Pitocin soon. And so I'm just chilling there. And the thing they don't talk about, I was also going to say, is those nasty pads you have to sit in like all the time. They just put it underneath you and like my water broke all over it. And so she's like, I'll change it for a new one. She like gets me a new one and then I have to wear a diaper and because I'm just constantly having nastiness. And so then you're just sitting there and the doctor comes in and he's like, it looks like you're already starting contractions on your own. Like I could feel them. And he's like, I don't think we need to do Pitocin at all. Like I think your body just like started labor. So I never actually technically got induced, I guess, because I just had the Cytotec, which softens your cervix, and then it made my water break. So then I just like went into labor, which was nice. So then I was like I really wanted to know. People, like, I know Sadie didn't want to know what contractions really felt like, but for me, I was like, well, I mean, you kind of do, but some people are just like, I want the epidural right away. But for me, I was like, I really do want to know what the worst pain in the world actually feels like. Because everybody always, well, everybody's always like, it's the worst pain you'll ever experience. And I'm like, I gotta know, like, is this really that bad? And so if you're ever wondering, it's like if you have endometriosis or you have really bad cramps, I just compare it to like your worst cramps you've ever had, and then like times the throbbing by 10 and the like movement by 10, and that's kind of what you have. It's like the pain just comes in waves. So instead of just being like a constant aching like cramps are, it's like a 2-minute just terrible cramp that's just like horrible, and then it goes away and you're like have relief for like 2 minutes, and then it comes back and it's just terrible. So like at like 7 o'clock I was like, I don't think I can do this anymore. I was like rocking on a ball back and forth, and I was like, I'm ready for my epidural. So I got that. I was so scared for the epidural. That's always been my biggest fear, and that did hurt a lot. The shots beforehand, they like give you like 3 shots up your spine to like numb it, and then they put it in, and those shots hurt really bad. I remember he was like, here's the first one, and I was like, oh my gosh. And then he's like, okay, this one's gonna hurt more, and I was like, oh, you're kidding, like more? Okay,
get 3 shots.
Oh, it hurt so bad, but I mean, it was worth it because just one.
Yeah, I just got 1.
I think I got maybe just 2 then. I don't know if it was 3, but I just know that there was at least 2, and the second one hurt way more. But then
I think I had 2.
There. Yeah,
it's probably 2.
And apparently I had a really good epidural, because I know a lot of people that say they feel like it didn't work or it worked too well. And so then my parents came and McCall came. I had a full house. My dad was like, I was like, I don't really want you here, Dad. Like, I don't want you in the room. But he like didn't get up to leave. Like, I don't know.
This is why,
okay.
because the lobby was so cold. Do you remember? Well, I guess you never went in the lobby. There was one point where she was like, I'm going to take a nap. So we all went into the lobby. It must have been 60 degrees. And my dad is like the coldest person on earth. He's always ice. And so when we got back into the room, he's like, I'm not leaving.
Okay. Yeah, he kind of, when everything went down, he just stayed by my head. And I was like, that's good. But McCall I didn't want anybody else there but my mom and Dallin. And McCall like begged me for weeks. She's like, I just want to be there for educational purposes. I'm going to have a baby. I want to know what it's like. I was like, all right, fine. In the moment, you really
my way through
could
there.
care less. Like, I was like, I don't care who's looking at me. It's fine. But anyway, so they showed up, and then it's pretty chill for a while. And I'd say I had a really awesome delivery, because every hour they checked me and I was dilated another centimeter, like almost exactly every hour. And so then by like 2:45, I was at like a 9. I don't know. I think it was like 3. I was at a 10. But I had, like I said, I had this really awesome nurse at this time, and she was supposed to leave, but she was like, I'm going to see you through to the end of this. Like, I'll just tell the other person that I'm going to take their shift for a while, because she's like, I want to be here. And I loved that. So she was there, and I'm so glad she was, because she like had been with me and saw like how I was progressing, because Brooks started to have some issues when I went to push. We didn't know till after he had the cord wrapped around his neck, and every time I would push, he would go into distress, like really bad. Like his heart rate would go really low, and they were super worried about him. I didn't know how worried until my dad, he told me after that outside the doors, they had people, like tons of people waiting to come in and code blue him if like it happened. But anyway, so they made me stop pushing, and the doctor came in and he was like, I'm gonna have to use forceps to get him out fast. And the nurse was like, no, I've been watching her. Like, she can do this. She pushes so well. Like, just watch what she does. And so, like, I pushed, and apparently I'm, like, really good at it. It's like something you're like, I don't know how I'm good at that, but okay. They're like, wow, you are doing a good job. I was like, okay. But they, like, made me stop every once in a while and not push for some contractions to watch his heart rate. And they gave me oxygen. Oh, and I totally forgot. The worst part was that was when I got the worst acid reflux, was when I was pushing, because it hurt my stomach somehow. Like, I feel like everything was just pressed up because your legs are up. Like, Dallin's holding one leg, the nurse is holding the other, and the nurse is like pushing down on my stomach to try to like push him down lower. And so every time I'd push, after I'd say like, Dallin, I need a drink of water, like so bad. And I would take Tums like every couple pushes, and I was just like, I'm dying. Like, I have so much acid in my throat. And then, yeah, so we just took it easy, but I only pushed for 20 minutes, and then he came, and I loved it because Dallin was kind of like me. Like, he did not want, he's like, I'm not going to look down there, and I don't really want to cut the cord, but I'll like be right by your side and help you. But as soon as he came, he like watched him come out, and he cut the cord, and he was just obsessed from the beginning. Like, he went over to him and like watched him, because he was kind of not breathing correctly. I guess he was taking like quick breaths. So they ended up taking him to the NICU for like 20 minutes. But Dallin's like, I'm going with him and I'll just stay in there. And so he like went with him, and he was so cute with him. Just like ever since the beginning, Brooks has just been his, I think he was more sensitive about him with everything, like crying or taking care of him, than I ever was. Like, I just feel like he's just
cute
ever since he was born. But anyway,
What
then, oh yeah, he was, I wrote it down, 6 pounds and 15 ounces, and then he was 18 inches.
He's a tiny little guy.
I know, but he
was so
shot up
small.
after that. Yeah, he was so
tiny.
small. And I only ripped internally, so I got a couple stitches inside. Oh, and my doctor, it wasn't my same doctor. He like thought he had all this time in the world. I feel like this happens all the time. They're like, oh, you'll be fine. And he went to do a C-section at a different hospital, because in Utah they have like rotating hospitals. I guess that's not a thing everywhere else, because I was telling someone here in Arizona that, and they were like, what do you mean he went to a different hospital? And I was like, they go to like more than one. Like, I don't know. They're really
my doctor
close.
had just come from a C-section at a different hospital before he came to me.
Yeah. So I ended up having a different doctor, but he apparently is the best at stitching. So I was fine. I was glad. But another thing I was going to say for people that like haven't given birth and are wondering, like, it is crazy when you like give birth to the placenta, how much blood there is everywhere. Like, you don't see all of it,
so
but
big.
like they like clean it up, and they like put it all on this tray, and it looks like a murder scene. Like, it looks like they just cleaned up a murder, and you're like, oh, like all of that came out. Didn't you like squirt blood on your doctor, Sadie?
When I was pushing to get it.
God.
I think either I was pushing with Miles or something, but it like I squirted out blood and it got all over my doctor.
That is
So
one
gross.
thing that benefited from my educational experience from watching Madison, is I've seen like a million birth vlogs. Like, I thought I knew exactly what went down in that room, but then when they're like, okay, we're gonna try pushing, and they like broke down the bed so it's only half of a bed.
Oh yeah,
and
they
they
out
put a
half the bed.
hazardous bag like where her butt is. I was like, excuse me, like what is happening? And then they just like shove everything into that bag. I was like, oh, like I was gagging. It was disgusting.
I remember Nicole telling me that after she was like, a nurse tied it up and brought it out of the room. She was like, what is she doing with that bag? She's like, that's
what is
disgusting.
in that bag?
I know, like when you're giving birth, you can't see any of that. So like obviously they broke down the bed, but like I didn't even like see the placenta, maybe like for a second. I just saw the blood afterwards, but I didn't know there was
I saw
a bag.
it.
It's
big.
disgusting.
Looks
So
like
now
a
you'll know when you give birth.
liver or
Okay,
something.
I was also gonna say though, something that people don't usually know about is the after experience. When you go, first of all, you think like you're in this beautiful, massive room when you give birth, and then they're like, all right, let's ship you into the tiny little room for the next 2 days.
Small.
Like, I was like, oh, I thought this was my room, but apparently not. So you go into like a really small room, and there's like a chair that Dallin had to sleep on, but the worst is they come and check you like every 2 hours, even in the night, and they push on your stomach from your ribs all the way down to like your pelvic bone, trying to get all the blood out from like and everything, just trying to push everything out of your body. And it hurts so bad when they do that because you're like, I just went through a trauma. And they just come in and like the first time the nurse, I didn't like this nurse, and she like pushed on me and she's like, I'm not getting anything out, just pee. And I'm like, thank you. And she like does it again. She's like, yep, you better go to the bathroom because you're just peeing all over. I'm like, great, thanks. Like, you are pressing really hard on my bladder and I haven't peed in a while. And then they have to, the most humiliating part is 2 nurses have to help you and watch you go to the bathroom. Did you guys have that?
Yeah.
So they like walk you there because your epidural's still wearing off, and then you like go sit on the toilet and you like don't know how to pee because you're still kind of numb, and then like you wait and do it, and then they're like, okay, you're good. And I'm like, this is the worst thing ever. Like, I don't like this.
With my birth story. But when we got back to the room, because they switched the rooms, I was like so on edge with Miles. Like any little sound, you're just like what is wrong with him, you know? And I remember like right before I went to sleep, we like swaddled him, and he was in that little bassinet cart thing. And I was like, Lucas was asleep, and I lay down, and I remember saying like a little prayer that like would just like listen, like if anything's wrong, that I could just like be aware, because I was so nervous that something was gonna go wrong. And then all of a sudden I hear Miles like gagging and like trying to like breathe. He's like and I like shot up. I just remember thinking like, I'm in so much pain, but I like I would do anything to get to him. I like shot up, jumped out of bed, grabbed him, like turned on the lights. And I remember when I touched him, there was a lot of water all over him. And I like propped him up, and I started like burping him while he was like propped up. And I was like, Lucas, turn on the light. And he had swallowed a lot of amniotic fluid while I was pushing. He was coming out, and he was like choking on it. And so I called the nurse in, and they had to take him away and pump his stomach and get the amniotic fluid out. And that was like the scariest part of.
How did they not like?
Whole
Did
thing.
they not know that right when he's born? Like, why did it take?
I don't know. I think
Maybe he swallowed it and now it's like burping it back up. Like they just
yeah,
didn't know.
I don't know what was happening. Yeah, I think it was just like
it was nighttime
settling.
anyway.
That's scary that you would have had to like deal with it.
It was like there was like
woke you up, and
it was
why
like
did the
blood
nurse
too
know?
coming out. Like it was so.
Oh, scary.
It was
I
so
didn't know
scary.
that.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then my advice was going to be to, if they still do this, I don't know after COVID if they'll allow it. I know McCall couldn't really, but let your baby go to the nursery as much as possible, because you don't sleep and you need some sleep in the hospital, because those were like the hardest days for me. People were like, you'll love the hospital, like you get to sleep so much. I'm like, no, there's someone in here every 2 hours, no matter if I'm sleeping or not. And I finally, it was like the first night, I didn't let them take him to the nursery because I was like, I want him to be here. Like, I want to be here for him. But I finally did the second night, and I'm like, I should have done that the first night because, and they like bring him in whenever he needs food. But like, you don't get any sleep if the baby is in there. Like, you need to take advantage of that opportunity and just let them take the baby. And so you can get like an hour of sleep at a time at least, because I didn't sleep like at all. And I was so exhausted. I didn't sleep very well until I got home, and my mom would like watch him so I could take naps. But anyway, that was my biggest advice, is to do that. And then of course, like Sadie said, take whatever you can from the hospital. They'll give you extra underwear to put with your pads, and they give you extra pads. They give you like things to help. So Brooks is here. Yeah, he wants to play with us. But anyway, yeah, that was my experience.
Well, that was so fun listening to everyone's birth stories. And so crazy that Sid's is coming up. We're so excited for her. Oh, we just can't wait. The boy
Everyone
mom
say a prayer,
gang.
but my baby flips because he's still breech. So
Oh yeah, that's so true. Well, we have just been loving doing this. We've been doing it for 6 months, you guys, a little over 6 months by the time this goes up, maybe even 7. We just have loved it so much. Tell your friends, tell your mom, your sister, your best friend, your aunt, your uncle, tell everyone about the Wives Club podcast because we've enjoyed it so much. Be sure to follow us on Instagram at wives_club_podcast. We are on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. So be sure to check us out in those places as well. And we will talk to you guys next week. Bye.
bye.